Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I'm your host, James. I'm joined by Zach. How you doing, Zach?
I'm all good, James. How are you?
Yeah, I'm brilliant, mate. This is an all improved Cricket Nerds podcast because we are not joined by Benji. He will come again soon, but due to popular request, he is not in this one.
Nice.
Today, we are going to talk about the Ashes without crying, is our pledge. Any crying that does happen will be cut out. So if you see jumps, just assume that was like 10 minutes of us just weeping. The Ashes was really horrible. That's a nice little summary. We could probably end it there if we wanted.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have a little waffle. I think Zach's got a few bullet points on the sort of areas we're gonna touch on. And yeah, we'll just waffle about Test cricket, and hopefully it'll be somewhat interesting.
Well, the first question, James, is what actually happened? What happened? It was, you just couldn't have seen it coming. Really, in terms of, well, you could see it coming, but you couldn't see how it coming on that dreadful a scale. England capitulated more times than there was no fight. I think that was the issue for me. There was no fight shown. Yes, England have practiced lots, maybe in the nets, but they seemed to make stupid decisions and there was no fight shown, and that was frustrating as a fan. To not put up a score above 300 in a 5-match series is ridiculous. It's stupid. It shouldn't happen. And it shows that there's a lot of issues there. Yeah,
absolutely. You're right. We just looked completely impotent. It was quite a depressing ordeal to go through, having to watch it. I think going into it, I think we chatted beforehand, and we'd both predicted 3-0, 4-0, something like that. Maybe we scrape a couple of draws, but we were expecting to lose. But when we go all out for 68, I wasn't expecting that. I also wasn't expecting us to last single sessions more than once. We couldn't bat. I think if you didn't watch the Ashes, that is the biggest problem with England. We didn't. Not that we didn't bat well, we just didn't bat. As in, people forgot how to bat. I'm pretty sure some people were bringing out hockey sticks instead of bats. They just looked awful. There was zero drive. There was zero composure. Shot selection looked awful. Team selection looked awful. There were tons of problems. So hopefully we can try and pinpoint maybe 3 or 4 instead of just saying England are terrible, because that's too easy to say.
I think one of the things you can look at is the application of our batsman against Scott Boland, because Scott Boland is obviously, I don't want to take anything away from him because he's been really successful. He's got one of the best averages after 5 Test matches ever that a bowler's ever had. And his line and length was relentless. He knows the Australian conditions. He knows how to take wickets. He's not express pace. He's not got the bounce that someone like Pat Cummins might extract. He's not got the added left arm slingy action of Mitchell Starc. He's just a right arm, hits the right line and length. And his bowling is good, but it's the sort of bowling which, with enough discipline, you feel like you could get through. He takes a lot of wickets and doesn't go for many runs in the Sheffield Shield. But to go from bowling the Sheffield Shield to Test match level, even if you've got all the experience in the world at first class level, it is still a jump. And the fact is that England's batters don't have the techniques, they don't have the patience to bat against that sort of thing, against that sort of bowling, which means that someone like Scott Boland is going to it's easy for him, really, because we're not at that level. We're not at the international level. We've got good, not great, we've got good county players trying to make them into test match players. And it's just not happening.
Yeah. And this is something that's been highlighted by quite a few people, that the county system in its current state, for a multitude of different reasons, isn't producing batsmen that can bat for a long time. It's kind of, it's been known for a few years now that, you know, batsmen, like, it swings miles in England at the best of times, and especially the times where they play the county championship, which is our Red Bull tournament. It's easy to nick off at any given time. So you get batsmen taking off stump guards, which means that LBWs have flown through the roof in the last few years. And also people just are far more aggressive because there's that attitude of, one's got my name on it, I'm going to have to get a few here. So you go for the quick fire 50 as opposed to, you know, settle in and I'm going to get a double ton here over my dead body. You know, I think the reasons for that have been highlighted as county championship gets played at the wrong time of year. It gets played early in the season and then late, which is when, you know, it's either really green or it's wet. So either way, it's, you know, the ball's doing a lot. Or the pitches aren't good enough in general. You know, I think Rob Key, who has played county championship for most of his life, he was captain of Kent for like 1,000 years. He said that, you know, he lived through the time where the pitches were good and he noticed when they became bad. So there are quite a few things, quite a few unhappy groundsmen after being, you know, kind of given responsibility for the Ashes loss, and it's definitely not their fault. Like, there are more factors at play here, but the county system is a problem.
Yeah, the county system, like, you could talk about it for ages in terms of the problems that are there, whether you take into account the emphasis has been put on white ball cricket. Like, we talked mainly about the IPL, and that's because we like the IPL, like, it's got an appeal, but there aren't that many people who, well, there's a lot of people who like the shorter format in England, and not so much the longer format. And I think that's a problem, is that the popularity of the longer form of the game isn't as good as the shorter format. So people they're not as invested into it. And obviously cricket, like any sport, is an entertainment, really. International cricket, county cricket even, is for the fans. And so they're going to do whatever they can to make the money. And if the first class game, the longer game, takes a hit, then that's what's happened. But yeah, to not score 300 in a 5-match series, it's still, like, it confuses me. I thought if we get 250, like, that's a good score based on how badly England were doing. And this Australian team, they're not the best team. I think they're a good team, but they're not as good as the Australian team that we lost to in 2017, 2018. They're not as good as the team we lost to in 2013, 2014. They're not as good as those teams, but they still came away with 4-0. So yeah, I think it's just the shock of it all, really. The fact that I was expecting us to lose, but I wasn't expecting us to lose that badly. I thought we'd have one game where we might score over 400, and then Australia would bat it out for a draw, because we don't have the bowlers either to take 10 wickets, or 20 wickets. So yeah. Anyway, moving on from the batting and the issues with pitches or whatever, I think another aspect to it is people are talking about Chris Silverwood's position. People are talking about Joe Root's position as captain. And should they go? What do you think?
Oh, that's a big old question for a Thursday evening, Wednesday evening. I don't know, to be honest. I think there is a trend after an Ashes, you just sack everyone because we always do terribly. and or at least an away Ashes, that certainly happens. So I'm split, to be completely honest. On the one hand, I think, yeah, I know it's a terrible reason to have Root as a captain, but there is no one else whose like place in that side is nailed on. Absolutely no one else. Everybody else can be chopped and changed at any given time. So that's one reason to have Root. Another reason, his captaincy has been thrown into question a lot recently, and the last couple of test matches I've seen, you know, I'm talking about England, Australia, England, New Zealand, and England, India. He's made some terrible choices in terms of field, the bowlers at which times, the selections, which he definitely has a hand in because he's the captain, he chooses. So from that perspective, I think they probably do need to take a step back. I think Chris Silverwood, it's almost irredeemable that this is the worst looking Ashes there's been. I think, you know, worse than some of the whitewashes, because like you say, it's not that strong an Australia side. So yes, potentially they need to go. But that leads me on to the question I'm going to throw at you. Who do you replace them with?
Yeah, that is the question, because you could say something like, well, Joe Root doesn't need to go, Chris Silverwood doesn't need to go, because there's the idea that you're as good as your own team, right? The coach is as good as the team, the captain's as good as the team. And yes, the team's not great, the team's awful, but at the same time, you can't go against the fact that they've been tactically poor decisions, which make no sense to anyone who watches the game of cricket and knows something about the game of cricket. And that is the leadership issue. So there's obviously issues there. Something needs to change leadership wise and management wise and decision making wise. Like, who decides that, okay, a batsman's just come in, we're just going to bowl short deliveries to them? That's never been something that people have done. I think Mark Wood in the last test match at Hobart, that was the only time that it worked. The other time we injured Ben Stokes. There's something wrong about that. So I would say that Joe Root hasn't been great with the captaincy. He's not been poor over his time as captain. He's not been poor, but he's not been your Nasser Hussain, your Mike Brearley, your Michael Vaughan. He's not been that. And
you haven't looked at
kind of want that
and been like, oh, that's inspired. You've been like, yeah, he's done what I probably screamed at the TV to do about 4 overs ago. Yeah. Maybe I should be captain of England. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, true. Or yeah, I think that would work. But then if you look at the one-day team, when England had rock bottom in the one-day team in 2015, they got rid of Cook as captain and they appointed Owen Morgan. And it's like, okay, we have the players, and within like a month, we had the players in the English game who could play county cricket, one-day cricket, and take the world over. And we did. We won the World Cup in 2019, and we had the players who were capable of doing it. Now we don't have a shoo-in captain. We don't have the players who can take us forward in the test arena. So that's the difficulty. I guess short term, you showed us this video, you posted a video about Stuart Broad, why he should be captain. If you've not seen it on Cricket Info, why Stuart Broad should be England's next captain. And I think that was quite interesting because we just need a captain for a short time. Stuart Broad might only play cricket for 2 or 3 years more, maximum. He might only play cricket for 1 year more. But you don't need to think long-term all the time. You might think, like Stuart Broad said in one of his interviews, just take each test match at a time. So for the next test match that England play, which is in the West Indies, who's going to do a better job as captain? Is it going to be Joe Root or is it going to be Stuart Broad? You can't build a settled team if we don't have good enough players. And I think if Stuart Broad is just the captain, even if it's for a year, then it's someone different, but it's someone experienced. He was part of that world-beating 2011 team. He knows what it takes to win and be the best team in the world. So why not? It's not going to harm anything, I don't think.
Bring on Broady.
Yeah, bring on Broady.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
So, you know how it was very seemingly easy to go from being an utterly awful white ball side to then being world champions in white ball. And, you know, it's not looking like it's going to be that easy to go from, you know, a relatively shambolic display of red ball to then being, you know, world beaters. Do you want to just sort of, you know, just tell me what's the difference between red ball and white ball from that respect? Would you say that white ball is easier?
It's different. It presents different challenges. I'm not an expert. Like, I've never played one-day international cricket, so like it's hard to know whether it's easier or harder. But you take someone like Jason Roy. Jason Roy in one-day cricket has the freedom to go out and express himself every single innings, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. But that doesn't dishearten him, because in a span of 10 games, he might play 6 in which he scores a match-winning innings, and that's brilliant. But you throw him into the test arena as an opener, he's got to deal with the swinging ball. He's got to deal with different pitches, different fields, different sorts of bowlers. It's different. It is different. And so trying to adjust from one day to test cricket, not many players are all format players. Not many players have been able to adjust. Virat Kohli is the only one who averages 50 currently in one-day cricket, test cricket, and 2020 cricket. He's the only person in the world who does that, which shows it's not easy to be good in all formats. So I think the differences are massive. I wouldn't say that one-day cricket's easier, because they're dealing with different fielding restrictions. They're dealing with different balls that are coming their way. They don't know what the line and length is, and they've kind of got to do a bit of prediction. You're more likely to get out for a low score in one-day cricket, and that's why it's so exciting when people go big. But yeah, it's a different challenge.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we it's no secret that we enjoy white ball cricket, but like you said, it's very, very different from red ball. But at the same time, it's a good avenue to get into it, because, you know, we saw through the success of the 100 that white ball cricket is accessible. You know, my parents, big shout out to them, long-time subscribers. They got into the 100. They were never into cricket beforehand. So, you know, it's a very accessible form. And then I feel like as you get to understand cricket more, especially as you play it more, if you ever get into playing it, then you understand like just the nuances of it. You know, at our level, if you face someone that can swing it 3 inches, then that's it. You're lasting an over, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah.
like when you actually see test matches then with Jimmy Anderson swinging it round corners, you understand, okay, this is the real deal. You need to be absolutely spot on every single time with your technique. And you don't need to be spot on every single time with your technique in white ball. You like you say, you can have 4 out of 10 innings, you can just be awful. You can go out for a golden duck. As long as those other times, you smack a few, 30 off 10s in the 100, you're all right. So,
yeah,
they're definitely different. Wouldn't necessarily say that one's easier than the other, although test is harder. So, yeah. But as far as the importance of having tests and the importance of keeping a focus for England into red ball, is because as you understand cricket more, I think you then understand the value of red ball cricket. It would be like saying, we're going to get rid of chess because checkers is more accessible and it's more fun and it's a bit quicker. But really, chess is so much more intricate, and you wouldn't ever want to lose that because there's a whole history of it.
Yeah, definitely. And test cricket is by far the most interesting form of cricket. Like, I love watching Test cricket. Even when people are like, "Oh, this is boring," it's not boring. There's always something going on, even over a 5-day period, or in England's case, a 3-day period, maybe even 2.5 day, if you're lucky. And I think when England are going to the West Indies, and they've got 5 2020 matches and 3 Test matches. I wouldn't be surprised if England win the 2020 matches 5-0 and lose the Test matches 3-0.
Yeah.
Because of the difference in confidence. I think you've got players coming into the England setup, white ball setup, like Phil Salt, for example, who have loads of confidence. They're coming in with the confidence to smack the ball all over the place, playing match-winning innings. Whereas you look at the Test arena and Haseeb Hameed comes in and he can't face the ball. He looks scared of the ball. And only Zach Crawley really has come into the red ball side and looked like he's got a little bit of confidence about him. And if you look back to England's 2011 team, you had players like Jonathan Trott, Kevin Peterson, Alistair Cook, Andrew Strauss, Ian Bell, Matt Pryor, Paul Collingwood. They played with confidence and they all averaged over 40. And now England are struggling to get batters who are averaging over 30, other than Joe Root and occasionally Ben Stokes. And all I want to see is maybe some batsmen come in who might average, even if it's 35 plus in the Test matches, just come in and play solidly, earn your place, score a few 50s. We're not looking for massive hundreds like we were 10 years ago. We're just looking for someone who says, I can play Test cricket. You don't have to be the best player in the world, but someone who can say, I can play Test cricket and isn't being dismissed for single figure scores 10 matches in a row, because we can't have that. And I think looking forward, I think that it would be great if we can look at the county championship and we can think about, okay, who are the players coming in? Have a quick look at the games and think, okay, this guy has a good technique, who could play at Test level, because that could be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, we will build England's future squad. So in conclusion, we're going to fire Chris Silverwood. Cricket Nerds podcast is going to take over. Joe Root's going to step down. Broady's going to be the captain. You know what? Why don't we just try for, this will only take 30 seconds because it's 30 seconds worth of content. What were the good things about England cricket during the Ashes? What were the little glimmers of hope? And I'm thinking specifically of Big Boy Bairstow's 100. That was the only bit of fight that England showed the entire series. And it was good. Yeah. He looked class.
It was good. He did. Because he struggled to get past the 30s. Right? Bairstow struggled to get past the 30s. But for him to get that 100, I think psychologically that's good for him to think, actually, I can play Test cricket. And you never know. Like, he could do really well moving forward and just build that consistency and get to the form that he was in 2016. That would be lovely.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Any other glimmers of hope?
Glimmers of Pope.
Glimmers of Pope. Yeah, you know what? He looks great for 6.
yeah. You can play a lovely cover drive and then nick it to third slip.
Yeah.
And he's really good at that. Third. Yeah.
Mark
It's
Wood,
such a shame. He's another class one, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks great usually, but for only 6 runs, it's not really worthwhile. Mark Wood looked good. He was the only decent looking bowler, really. Like the only one that.
And the only decent looking batsman as well, really.
Yeah, he can swing a bit of willow. We've got our own Mo Shami right there, haven't we? When Mo Shami and Jasprit Bumrah were, hitting us around the park.
Now we've mentioned them, we can put them in our thumbnail and then get all the views.
Yes, now we're talking.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we need to finish. Been going long enough. Enough moaning. It'll be positivity going forward.
Yeah. You know what? It's only up from here. We hope. Yeah.
How can you get lower than rock bottom?
Huh?
How can you get lower than rock bottom?
Well, it depends if this is rock bottom. I think losing 3-0 in the West Indies against their side, that would be worse. So you know, if Broady takes over, I'm sure he'll hit a nice 50. It'll just
True.
It'll be his time to shine. He's going to open the batting.
Yeah, massive changes. Anyway,
Right. Well,
it's been
this has
good.
been nice. It's good to be back. We will catch you guys on the flippity flip. I think that'll probably end up staying in the video because I can't be bothered to edit. So yeah, see you guys.
Like, subscribe, comment with your favorite batsman.
All right. You know what? Who's better, Virat Kohli or MS Dhoni? Comment below.
Oh, yes. Good.
Team Dhoni all the way.
Follow us at Cricket Nerds Pod on all social medias. Yeah. Brilliant. See you, everyone. That was fun.